Good evening, Laker fans. It is November 15th, 2018. Last night, the Lakers had a lovely win against the Blazers. They are my learning Lakers, improving against every team they play more than once, which is just a lovely sign. I am Rachel A. Smith, your hostess and fierce feminine force behind the RAS.Laker channel, the proper Laker news resource for everything Lakers. So let's cover that game, the Lakers versus Blazers. For starters, we had the usual suspects. We had Lonzo Ball at the point, Brandon Ingram, LeBron James, Kyle Kuzma, and of course JaVale McGee at center. Remember, we've hinged our rotations on having a center in every point of the game, with Tyson Chandler as the 1-2 again with McGee. Portland Trail Blazers started their two dynamic guards, Damian Lillard and C.J. McCollum, very active players. Jake Layman, Farouk Aminu also starting, and Yusuf Nurkic, their center, also having a great game, holding down us in the paint a bit. But let's also remember, at the beginning of the season, a lot of people were talking about the death of the center position. And what did every center in the league do? They made themselves very valuable. Everybody needs a good center, and they're looking for them everywhere. We've got two wonderful ones in JaVale McGee and Tyson Chandler. So, in this game, in the first quarter, JaVale McGee draws first blood as per usual. From there, B.I. had a mid-range jumper against off a rare, what they called it a rare Blazer turnover. They came back across the floor and had another Blazer turnover, so they were definitely a little nervous about playing against us. However, during the pregame, there was talk about Brandon Ingram, BI, taking way too many mid-range jumpers. I don't think so. Let's talk why. Because, number one, he actually hits them. So go ahead. If you're going to hit him, especially if they're giving you that room. Number two, it's an aberration in our offense. It's going to basically throw off defensive rotations against us when he feels he can do that here and there. And again, take it while you can. If you can make those shots, go for it. It's just part of his game. And when you're big and you want to get in the paint sometimes and fight it out there, you're going to also need some time outside of the paint to rest that body. You know, when a big goes down, they go down hard. So it's a good idea to have a little more in your game than just what you can do in the paint. Hard, hard, hard. So with 8.5 left in that first quarter, it was 10-all. Blazers were making a little run. What it was that JaVale McGee was spending too much time in the paint alone. One of the reasons that we slowed that bleed out to the Blazers there was because Kyle Kuzma began to rotate through the paint with JaVale McGee. You need that rotation to keep moving through the center. Of course, we also had Nurkic responding to our bigs. He was able to change some of our big shots, forcing us to make those offensive rebounds, which we did for second chance points and sometimes third chance points. Lakers really need to work under the basket a little more. 5 minutes left. Lakers 14, Blazers 22. 5 minutes left in the first. Lakers were just really struggling to start as per usual. And they were having a little trouble controlling the pace of the game. This is going to happen for a little while. I know they've introduced Tyson Chandler for 4 games, and we've won those 4 games. It's going to take a little time for them to adjust to having that center in their game, but they're testing quite well, I think so. And if you have a chance to watch this game, even a little bit of it, definitely watch the last 2 minutes of each quarter. LeBron James decided it was time for him to turn on his LeBron Jamesness, and he had a really big game, 44 points. He was able to pass Wilt Chamberlain on the NBA's all-time scoring record with 31,420 points. Remember, Wilt not only slept with many, many women, he also was a former Laker. So if LeBron maintains this pace at 26.4 points per game, he will actually pass Michael Jordan on that all-time scoring list this season sometime in February before the All-Star break, my favorite time of year, other than Laker playoff time. But right now he sits at number 5 with 31,425 points. Jordan's in 4th. Kobe is in 3rd Malone, also a former Laker, a one-year wonder to be exact, and the mailman is number 2. And number 1 is my captain, the captain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and former Laker. So, Lakers started and ended the first quarter slow and down, but they would make a big run at the end of the half. They would finish Lakers 59, Blazers 55. How did they do it? Well, in that last minute of the quarter of the half, actually, LeBron James missed 2 free throws, and he made it up with 2 28-foot three-pointers. Thank you, LeBron James. You know Laker fans hate when players miss, especially critical free throws. So in the third quarter, Lakers played the same strong quarter they did the last time they played the Blazers. Josh Hart, KCP, and Lonzo Ball all getting threes, playing that long ball. They ended the quarter 97. The Lakers 97, Blazers 89. In the fourth quarter, Lakers would opt to hang on to that lead with 6 minutes left in the game. And after 2 LeBron actually made free throws, we had Lakers at 114 and Blazers at 99. In the final 2 minutes of that quarter, again, lots of poster shots from LeBron in that lovely Lakers City Edition jersey. I really do like those jerseys. And at the final, the Lakers were 126, Blazers were 117. So Lakers have won 4 games in a row. Everything is peachy keen. I know some of you are nervous about some issues. So first of all, Rajon Rondo, coach on the floor. He's been closing games. He's the one that has been getting Tyson Chandler accustomed to the rotation, pointing out where he should be and when he should be there. And Tyson Chandler and him have been playing unbelievable ball together. He has a broken finger and will be out at least 4 weeks. So what does this mean? Lakers need to lean on Lonzo Ball, and Lonzo Ball needs to insert himself in the game a little more. So a lot of people are very critical of Lonzo Ball, especially on Twitter. I read those tweets, and it breaks my heart because what is Lonzo Ball? He's not any player that we are accustomed to seeing, or even the league is accustomed to seeing, especially from the point guard position. The players have really dubbed him the possible best defensive guard in the NBA's history. So that means he's not a shooting guard. That means you're not going to get a lot of points from him. Of course, he had 3 of 4 from three-point land against the Blazers. So I really wouldn't worry about him shooting so much right now, at least, because let's remember the Lakers stand 4th in the NBA in scoring. That means that only 3 teams are averaging more points than us in the league right now, which means the Lakers really need to work on defense to become that team that really slams teams home 20 points at the end of the game, so that LeBron is taking a nap by the end. By the time the press is over, LeBron's ready to hop on that plane and ready to play another day. So we want to keep him fresh for those playoffs. I think amazing things can happen. So so the Lakers need to work on their defense, basically. So even without a very strong point guard, we can actually work on a lot of game and be that learning Lakers and advancing ahead. We've been able to do quite well in the experiment of this positionless rotation that we have now hinged and anchored on having a big in the paint and holding down the paint for us on both sides of the floor. The rotation is going to adjust. It's adjusted so many times this season, and it's doing well right now. It's not going to bleed out so much without Rondo. Of course, he can be the coach on the bench. Another coach on the bench never does harm, especially with a player's eye. So let's talk about this rotation, adjusting. Let's talk about the coach that's putting it all together. I know a lot of Laker fans are still very critical of Luke Walton, even though we've won 4 in a row. Luke Walton is making these adjustments with these teams. This is a well-guided team, and they are very smart, and they are very attentive, and I hear they watch a lot of film together as an entire team. I've heard that more than once. That it's happened more than once, so it's becoming a habit, and you can see it on the floor. They are very smart, and they are playing smart, and that comes from great leadership. Thank you, Luke Walton. So that's number 2 reason why we don't need to panic as Laker fans. I know Laker fans like to panic. Even 4-4, we like to panic. But let's also remember we have LeBron James on our team, and he has decided to turn it on. He looked really great against the Blazers. He looked the way that Lakers expected LeBron James to look like based on what he's done in the East, but we're afraid he couldn't do because of what comes from playing in the West. But I thought he looked really great, and he especially looked great at the last 2 minutes of every quarter. And why is this so important for Laker fans? Because we're used to Kobe being able to hit it. We're used to Robbie Ory being able to hit it. That man has 7 rings. 7 rings for 7 shots in his career, probably. No hate, no hate. Big shots from Robert Ory, a lot, 7 times, right? So, and then we even had Metal World Peace hit a game-winning closer for us. So, a playoff championship closer for us, mind you. So we want that closer, and LeBron working hard in the last 2 minutes of the game is showing Laker fans that he is working on closing games, and what could be more wonderful than having a LeBron fixing that last hole in his game. I've always criticized him as not playing well in the playoffs and not being able to close the game. And if he can do both those things on the Lakers, I think he will have that complete game and he can get back into the MJ and Kobe discussion. He's in there, of course, but you know, I'm old school, so it's hard to let go of that 90s ball. It was painful to be a Laker fan in the 90s, but it's not painful to be a Laker fan right now. We're 4-4. Again, Laker fans, don't panic. Things are going well. I will be back to talk about the weekend game against the Magic and the Heat. And those are back-to-back traveling games. Of course, they don't have to travel far on Saturday night between Orlando and the Heat. We'll see how far they actually do travel. I'll let you know a little later. Good night, Laker fans. I'm Rachel A. Smith, and thank you for hanging out with me on my Laker channel, the rs.lakergirl.